For the first time in 5 years, the Tennessee Titans will be heading into the season without Mike Vrabel as coach, Ryan Tannehill as quarterback, and Derrick Henry as battering ram. These won't be your older brother's Titans. No, they'll be Will Levis's Titans. Or will they? Tennessee has been busy this offseason. They brought in former Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan to be head coach, strengthened their receiver core by adding Calvin Ridley and Tyler Boyd to pair alongside DeAndre Hopkins, brought in Tony Pollard to be part of the committee that will try and replace Tractorcito's production, and drafted tackle J.C. Latham to bolster what was a porous offensive line last year. Asked about all the moves, Levis said, "For one, it means that they're not afraid to make those investments and they want to go win, which is awesome to see. And from Levis's perspective, this makes sense. But when you take a step back and look at it from the coach's office, I think it's as much as putting the team in position to be competitive as it is to give the new head coach a true look at Levis and assess if he's a guy they want to continue developing." There were things that Levis did last year that jumped off the page and tape, like his 4 touchdown passes in his NFL debut in Week 8 against the Atlanta Falcons. One of those included this absolutely nasty go ball that he hit Hopkins with down the sideline early in the game. The play action gets the linebackers to drop down, and when both of the safeties go intermediate rather than protect deep, Levis lets this rip to his best receiver. Notice where he places this deep ball. Right on the bottom part of where the NFL shield would be, despite the fact Hopkins is getting pushed towards the sidelines. This is a standard placement on these types of routes, and putting it there for Hopkins gives him the opportunity to get back around his guy and catch it in front of him, as opposed to finding where Levis might be giving it to him. But from Callahan's past, his quotes, and the reporting around Tennessee, it sounds like the team will place greater emphasis on how Levis performs in the more mundane parts of the job, rather than how many highlights he generates. Brian Callahan has served as a quarterback's coach for the Detroit Lions, the then Oakland Raiders, and was most recently the offensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals. Because Bengals head coach Zach Taylor was the one calling the plays in Cincy, it's nearly impossible to know how much of Callahan's stamp was on this offense. Pro tip, if you ever want to farm engagement on NFL Reddit, just ask a community, what scheme does, insert OC's name whose head coach is the play caller, run? And watch the comments pour in. From what I've read though, it sounds like Callahan was heavily involved in building Cincinnati's offense and will employ a spread system that emphasizes the quick game with short, easy passes to keep the chains moving while taking the occasional shot. It should feel like a reversal from the run-pass offense of Titans past. And if Tennessee sticks to this and Levis does well, we should also see a reversal in a few of his key stats from last year. He finished with the worst completion percentage in the league among qualifying quarterbacks at only 58.4%. That bad percentage was almost certainly from constantly throwing the ball downfield. He was first in the league in the percentage of 20-plus yard passes he threw, and 42nd in passes between 0 and 9 yards. And this culminated in Levis leading the league in average depth of target at 11.1, with nearly 2 yards separating him and second place CJ Stroud. When we use Joe Burrow and Jake Browning as examples of what to expect from a Callahan quarterback, we see stark differences in a lot of these same areas. Browning, for instance, led the league in completion percentage last year at 70.1, and Burrow, in limited time with his injury, still ranked 10th here at 66.8. Both quarterbacks also ranked low in the percentage of passes they threw to over 20-plus yards, with Browning at 34th with 9% and Burrow at 38th with 8.2%. But maybe the biggest difference between the Bengals QBs and Levis is in their utilization of the quick game, passes that come out in under 2.5 seconds. Burrow was first in the percentage of his dropbacks resulting in these quick throws, while Browning was 7th over last year. Levis lived on the other end of this chart, ranking 40th, just above only Justin Fields. A successful season from Levis in this new offense then will require that he drastically change the way he played last year. So, how did he play last year? I think there's a decent amount to be excited about with Levis. Obviously, he's got great arm strength, but one of the most impressive parts of his game to me is his footwork and willingness to step into pressure. Check out this throw against the Steelers in Week 9. Pittsburgh sends 5 pass rushers with a single high safety and man coverage underneath. Levis takes the snap and remains calm while his line gets displaced around him. He then steps into the throw, getting it out right as Kyle Phillips makes his break to the sideline and gets the defender chasing him from behind. Levis isn't setting the best hallway for this throw with his hips. They end up more parallel with the sidelines than really facing towards where he's going with the ball, but that's an area that can be more easily worked on than trying to get someone to simply be less skittish in a muddy pocket. NFL Films analyst Greg Cosell also referenced being impressed with Levis's pocket presence, saying, "You can teach a lot of things, but you can't teach guys that are just willing to stand there and deliver the football knowing that they are going to get hit. You've got to play in a dirty pocket, and Levis has no problem with that." I also have no problem playing with dirty pockets, if you know what I mean. But this comfort in a muddy pocket goes beyond just throwing the ball. Levis is jacked, and his strength is probably best on display when shaking pass rushers off him and running with reckless abandon. His ability to run and stay up in the pocket should help him maintain a baseline of production where he can still pick up positive yards even when everything else has gone to hell. But he still wants to win by throwing, and I think this is a major difference between Levis and guys like Zach Wilson, Sam Howell, or Tommy DeVito. They love bailing out the back door to get on the run, but by doing so, they essentially allow the defense to only guard one side of the field. One of the funny things though about this willingness to hang inside the chaos is that he almost seems more accurate when throwing short in a shitty pocket than he does when he's kept clean. For example, here's a quick out route that Levis throws to Hopkins on second down, but the pass is behind him. It forces Hopkins to stop, turn around, and miss the catch due to the awkwardness. I think the inaccuracy goes back to how he needs to get his lower half to match more of the direction he's throwing. He drops back with a solid rhythm here and gets it out on time, but he can look a little stiff directionally. I saw this both on these little outs and crossers in the shallow middle. Compare this to how he throws this out route a bit later in the same game when there's a free rusher coming to take his head off. I know these are different types of plays, but I kept on seeing instances like this. It almost seems like the blitzer forces him to get his legs more perpendicular to deliver a more accurate ball around him. Even without the danger of a free rusher, he just seemed better short when his instincts took over after moving off his spot in the pocket. Here's a really nice light pass to hit his running back in stride against the Dolphins. It's a goofy part of his game that he'll need to get straightened out for when the easy stuff presents itself. But if I'm Brian Callahan, I think this makes me more excited than worried. He can throw good balls on the short stuff, and he's willing to make plays to move the chains regardless of the defense pressuring him. The bigger question will be around consistency rather than ability. To be fair though, Levis did not grade well in his under pressure splits. However, he was under pressure on 44% of his dropbacks, while his average depth of target in these situations was 13, so he was playing this version of the game on a harder mode than a lot of other guys. All the while, the Titans had the 25th graded offensive line in terms of pass blocking and was 31st in sack rate, only behind a historically bad New York Giants line. With a new left tackle in Latham and offensive philosophy that values the short stuff more, we'll see if this pressure grade levels itself out for Levis and matches what I saw on tape. The last part I wanted to talk about was just how I wasn't totally sure how much Levis was truly reading the defense post-snap. There were times where I'd see him rip a really nice confident throw into tight spaces between corners and safeties, like here against Miami. The Dolphins come out with 2 high safeties, but at the snap, the left one hangs more towards the middle of the field and cheats his body towards the opposite sideline. His receiver, Okonkwo, will run an in route towards that part of the field, and Levis throws it to the space right as he's breaking and into the area that's been vacated by that safety. It's a tight window that Levis hits really well, and you can give him credit for seeing that opening while dropping back. But I wondered how much of this fearlessness was brought on by him truly seeing the field, or if it was more him knowing that's where the ball is supposed to go based on the play call and getting it there by any means necessary. Because look, for as much as I've ended up liking him, there were some egregious misses and mistakes, like here against the Texans in week 15. Levis will run play action and roll out to his left side. Treylon Burks, the motion man, is running a straight go route down the sideline on that same side, and the corner near him stays in a zone turn even while he's passing him. There's no one back to help either. As Levis gets around the open field block, he looks up to the field and seemingly locks onto Hopkins, who is running towards the sideline and into that corner, who has ignored Burks. Hopkins even makes a hand motion to try and show Levis the open touchdown, but Levis whips one towards Hopkins instead and gets picked off. There were other, more mundane misses in his processing that also caused my ears to perk up. Here's one against Miami, where they come out showing two high safeties. The Titans will run a slants concept, and at the outset, it seems Hopkins is the obvious target. He's got a one-on-one with space to cut inside, while the slot receiver can take care of the defender over top of him and or get in the way of the edge rusher if he pops out into coverage. But watch what the Dolphins do just before the snap. They rotate their safeties and are suddenly in a single high look. What originally looked like two receivers for two defenders and a deep safety on the right side has become a 2-on-3 in favor of the defense. Seeing this, Levis needs to move his eyes to the opposite side of the field, where he now has an obvious 3-on-3 with receivers and defenders, and can read this hook defender to see how he guards against the flat route from Okonkwo. And because he speeds down to protect it, Levis could have had a wide open slant on the other side of where he actually throws this. He's just lucky this wasn't picked off. Next year, I'd really like to see him make strides in moving through his progressions and recognizing disguises from the defense faster. While I do think Levis will get a decent leash to learn the new offensive system and develop within it, let's not forget that waiting in the wings is the Titans' 2022 third-round draft pick, who many people thought was the best quarterback in the draft, Malik Willis. Wait, no. Actually breathing down Levis's neck is sixth-year man and former Steeler Mason Rudolph. Try telling someone before the 2022 draft that you'd unequivocally prefer Rudolph to Willis 2 years later, and their head might have exploded, and yet, here we are. I personally have a soft spot for Willis and did a video on him about a year ago, but if Tennessee is moving in the direction of the quick game and nailing the short stuff, Willis probably isn't your guy. Rudolph, perhaps best known for almost getting clocked by Myles Garrett and his helmet, could seemingly fit the bill of what Callahan and the Titans want to do on offense. In limited action last season, he threw the ball accurately at 74.3%, got the ball out quick, ranking 6th quickest in time to throw, and was more willing to throw it short as he held an average depth of target at 7.7, which puts him towards the bottom third of the passers in the league. While he only threw 74 passes in his 3 regular season starts, it's hard to overstate just how much better and happier the Steelers' offense looked playing through him. Plus, it's not easy to come in as the third stringer with your season on the line and help the team go undefeated in its final 3 games. Then again, this is a Mike Tomlin team, so they were destined to go above 500 some way or another. I don't think anyone in the franchise thinks Rudolph has a better chance of eventually becoming the franchise quarterback than Levis does, but I do think they signed him specifically because he would make for a great bridge quarterback who can play the way they want to if it turns out that Levis isn't the guy. Alright, so I've already kind of hinted at it, but I'll just come out and say it plainly. I like Will Levis. Do I think there's a chance he won't be able to rein in his play and improve his ability to process defenses post-snap effectively? Of course. But do I also think he's got a ton of tools, both physically and mentally, to become a solid NFL starter? Absolutely. Should I keep asking myself questions? No. The Titans coaches will be tasked with molding Levis into the quarterback they believe will be more effective. I think, put most simply, they want him to maintain his fearlessness when throwing it deep and show off that arm strength, but they want a guy who is more consistent with the little stuff. A guy whose quick game can be the focal point of the offense and better open up what he does so well further down the field with the pocket bearing down on him. His success will be based on how quickly he can make over his game to fit this system. And so, the question for Levis's sophomore season will be, how quickly can he trust that less is more? Thank you so much for watching this video. Please remember to give it a like if you did enjoy it, and please consider subscribing to the channel so you can catch the next one. Thanks, bye.